All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Forge Coffee Break. This is the episode number 32, but it's also a very special edition of the Coffee Break because this is the AU week. And I hope that you are having some fun at AU. Watch there was the keynote yesterday. There is a second part today. We had the Forge Ask Me Anything yesterday. We have one more yet for the European region. And there's a lot going on this week. Hoping you are finding the ways to connect to us, to talk to us. We have a lot of extra slots on the Calendly, so you can book a time with the team to ask your questions. So, but yeah, let's go for today. Thank you everyone for joining. I see we have a lot of people today. And let me start with you. If you have any questions, any topics that you want to bring up.
I have one question, is it possible?
Yeah, go ahead.
I will ask one question. Question about NuGet packages for the innovator design automation. And we are using Autodesk Forge, but I want to transfer my application on Core 5, .NET Core 5.0. So is it necessary to use this one Autodesk Forge Core, or may I stay on Autodesk Forge? Because I see dependencies also.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good point. The Autodesk Forge design automation. So the design automation package is one thing, and it depends on the Autodesk Core package, right? So that's the newest, one of the newest NuGet packages we have, and it's using this new architecture, right? The other one that is just Autodesk Forge is kind of legacy that we are maintaining for some time, but it doesn't have all the features. Like it doesn't have, for instance, design automation V3 with all the new things, right? So those are independent things today. And no, there is a project, there is an ongoing project to improve the SDKs, but today they are separate. So if you're using design automation, you need to install design automation, and it will require I believe it will require the core package. To use the other APIs, you can use the Autodesk Forge package, right? Now, both of them are compatible with .NET Standard, and you should be able to use with .NET Core, no problem. The design automation package, there is on the package, there is a V3 and a V4. The version 4 is compatible with .NET 5 and 6. Right. The package V3 is compatible all the way to .NET Core 3.
Okay.
Makes sense?
But for example, for authentication, I need that Autodesk Forge because there is no scope enumerator in Forge.core, right?
Oh, if you're using, if you're using design automation, as I said, it's using this new architecture, and it's a modern way of doing that with .NET. And there is a dependency injection at the beginning. So when you start your application, you do a dependency injection, passing the credentials. So the package will take care of all the scopes you need. So in regards to design automation, you don't need anything else. Just use the package, pass the credentials, and the package will define all the scopes you need to run design automation.
Because I need to change that in the viewer. Because the viewer is read. No, it's a view, only a data point view, viewable, I think.
Yes. You're right. You are right. But
last pattern, I just put that read and create because I changed some object in the viewer.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the point. That's the point, right? The package for design automation has these scopes, but if you're using the viewer, then you need a different scope, right? Because you're not using design automation anymore. You are using the viewer. So in that case, you need to do your own authentication or use the package to do a second authentication. So let me open a tutorial here that should be easier. Where is it? Okay, here. Okay, so let me learn Forge design automation. And let me share my screen. Yeah, so that's the tutorial package we have for the tutorial sample, sorry. And if you go here into the control, sorry, let me go back one level, right? So if you go to the startup, here, no, sorry, not here, on the program, yeah. So here you do the injection of the configuration. Yeah, here you do the injection of the configuration of the environment variables for design automation. Now, if you're using viewer, then you need the second authentication. So that's why we have this extra piece of code that here we do the specific authentication for other things. And here we just need the viewables read, right? Okay, but this sample, we're not using the viewer, so that's why we don't use it, but we're using this authentication here to create buckets and upload objects. So that's why we have this second piece of code.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. Okay, I will try it in that case.
Yeah,
like
and both packages are compatible with .NET Standard 2.0, and you should be able to use on any version. And the design automation v4 requires .NET 5 because it's using a new feature, so that's why.
Okay, thank you, Gustav.
Cool. Thank you. Any other questions? I was mentioning that this week we have extra slots on the Calendly. So if you go to calendly.com/AutoDeskForge and select the team, anyone on the team should have lots and lots of slots. So let's see, Adam's here. Let's try Adam. So yeah, we see Adam is a lot of extra slots tomorrow and today yet and tomorrow. And yeah, where's my name here? Here. And I think I have, yeah, today and tomorrow. And I'm taking vacation next week and the week after, so that's why it's blocked on my calendar. But yeah, I mean, the whole team will be available this week for you. If you have additional questions, you want to discuss your specific implementation.
I have a little question.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, I'm wondering if I would like to change or load the 3D viewer with a specific environment, like let's say shaded or not shaded or stuff like that. I couldn't find it in the viewer APIs or the viewer SDKs how to manipulate on it when you load the viewer. If there is any, do you have an idea where I can find those? Or
so you are saying that you want to change shades on the viewer.
Right? To be more specific, actually, the viewer settings, the environment. So it could be different, like dark sky. It could be.
Okay. Yeah, I think we do have a sample. Give me a sec. I remember Dennis did something on that as well.
Article on changing the environment, actually.
Do you have it? Do you know what it is? Adam.
Looking
for it. The set lighting presets?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember the exact line of code to do it.
I know it. It's viewer.set lighting presets. One sec, I'll go to you right now.
No, I think the question is more like how to have all these kind of changes before loading the viewer. So instead of loading the viewer and then apply the changes, how to
that's the
have
question.
these changes? Yeah.
Is that the question?
You
Exactly.
can track the. What I tend to do is when the geometry loads, I trigger that event, and then from there I start applying things that I need the viewer to have. For example, if I want to set like quality level, if I want to set lighting presets and all that stuff, that's basically at the time that the viewer itself is loading, it just starts applying that. Do you want to set that before the model shows up, or it doesn't matter?
No, actually, it doesn't matter as long as in the end when the viewer it's loaded, it changed the environment. It's fine. And also, when I remember they were in place that you can also manipulate on the styling of the, for instance, element property. You can change the color, stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically, we do initialization of the viewer. And then when the document loads success, inside of the load document node, I trigger an event listener for the onGeometry loaded event. And that basically calls this function. And then from this function, I start adding things that I need, right? Like set lighting preset. This basically will set up your environment for the viewer itself. I tend to trigger also fit to view. Some models sometimes kind of like are a little bit out, other ones are very close.
Exactly.
So if I want to keep it uniform, I just basically set the view like that. And then some stuff that I get rid of, like ambient shadows and all that stuff, because sometimes whenever you're accessing the viewer through a mobile, if it's not a good and fast like mobile device, it might actually give you like a black screen. So I just set the quality level in there, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Great. And also, if we,
Just posted another link there. There are also built-in utilities that you can use to wait for geometry load.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the change viewer settings blog that you mentioned, Adam.
And then the other one, the wait events viewer, that's for waiting geometry load.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can treat it one line.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I was asking? Yeah, so for instance, even like when you open the viewer, the settings pop up or whatever, or those pop-ups, I remember there were a place that you can change the style, the CSS style, but I cannot find it anymore.
Yes,
What do you mean by style?
Yeah.
But let's say the color, because now it's almost
that's the lighting presets.
No, are you actually referring to perhaps team? There is light team and dark team.
no. So for instance, if you select an element, let's say, then you can you right click on the element, you could say isolate, you can say show object, you say, let's say show properties. So when you say show properties, it will open pop-up window. So this pop-up, I remember there were things you can change the style, you can change the color, you can change the style of this pop-up.
Like the CSS of the.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you probably have to override the CSS to get a new color.
I think that's accessing the docking panel, like class. One second, let's see.
So with the preset lights, are you trying to get some photorealistic view of the model? What you're trying to do there?
Yeah, I'm building a small product, so I would like also to manipulate a little bit on the styling, because the web app styling, it's a little bit different than the viewer windows or the viewer pop-up. So we would like to change the color in the viewer in order to correspond with the original designs.
Okay, so the viewer to match the host application.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely CSS. Adam did that post. Let me bring that up again. What is my share? Yeah, so he was showing that if you go on Chrome, you can inspect the elements. So there are a lot of things you can do when you inspect elements. So here he's showing how to get the event listeners, right? But you can also check for the styles that are applied to specific pieces. And this is CSS and in a web page. So if you just create your own CSS and override the color, that you have a new color for those elements. So you can handpick the colors you want to change. And as you can see here, Adam is using dark mode, right? And the viewer has two CSS settings, dark and light, that you can change.
So
yeah,
and
very good question. Thank you.
Yeah, and also I'm loading a huge viewer from BIM 360, but I'm loaded as OTG, so I'm using Fluent. So basically, all the method and SVF, let's say, like for instance, got get bulk or get properties, etc. All of those, it will work also in OTG format, no problem.
Yeah, so OTG was, and Kevin is here, can correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, but OTG was a temporary thing, right? The beta. Now the official release is SVF2. So just when you refer to the documentation, is SVF2. And if you're using anything that is pointing to different servers, like OTG servers, please start using SVF2. Right,
because
Kevin?
maybe can I share my screen, because maybe I'm doing
definitely
something totally wrong.
Yeah, and just be aware that OTG is only part of BIM 360 Docs services, right? And the BIM 360 Docs processing has not completely fully converted over to SVF2. So there's still a chance you could get an is OTG being true from the viewer.
Exactly.
But we are fairly confident that the OTG and SVF formats are identical. It's just underlying the technology that actually processes it. It comes from two different environments at the moment.
Yeah. So what I'm doing it actually, if you come to the viewer, I'm just loading it like that.
Okay, so you should change to the current environment and API settings.
So like that.
It should be Autodesk Production 2, and I forget. It's now documented. Let me see if I can find it.
To get it to here, let me see.
Yeah, it should be in the release notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're still using the Fluent environment, it'll redirect, but you want to definitely migrate over. Let me see. I just
Your documentation. I was looking at the.
Yeah, it should be in the viewer docs.
Yeah.
Change notes. I'm just having trouble getting the site to load. A bit slow.
Yes. Can we share? Let's once you finish, we share a screen and show you.
Yeah. Okay. Just because I was trying to see if it's OTG loading. Yeah, it's loading OTG. So
I sent you the link in the chat.
Okay. I need to stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, so underneath it will still redirect to the proper service for displaying the SVF2. So when you specify Fluent, it's looking directly on the Fluent server, and if it happened to be processed by the newer workflow, then you could have a problem there. So these new values are basically catch-all, and it will show the correct output from whatever channel processed the job underneath. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. So to be honest, I need to go back to the documentation, Adam, I guess you just sent. So I need to read them again.
Yeah. So ignore the staging too. I just realized they probably shouldn't have published, anything staging. So it should be, or development. It should be Autodesk Production 2 and streaming V2 or V2_EU, depending on your region.
Okay. So you mean by streaming the API?
Yeah.
Yeah, API streaming.
Super.
Yep. Are you able to see what Augusto is showing?
I'm seeing your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, streaming to the API is streaming. Yeah, exactly. I will switch them right away.
Cool. Thank you.
But thanks.
Thanks, Kevin, for the explanation as well.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
but and all those the method I have been building on the viewer, it won't affect from SVF to SVF2. It won't affect at all.
The behavior should be the same.
Okay.
There are a few differences when you translate the model. Let's say there is a new way. The DBID is different when it translates from SVF and SVF2. But if you're not relying on that to connect to an external database, the rest of the API should be essentially the same.
Yeah.
The behavior of the model, right?
Yeah, and those viewer parameters will guarantee you'll load the model. So it has this fallback behavior. So if it happened to be an SVF job, it will still load it as SVF. So like Augusto said, the only difference between those two experiences will be, of course, the viewer performance, but also from the DBID perspective, they'll be using the object IDs from whichever job got completed. So SVF or SVF2. Metadata itself should be identical. And if you do need to connect to an external source, it's actually better to use the external ID because those will also be the same between the two formats.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm using external IDs and doing like the method, the external mapping external ID, something like that. So it find the DPID based on the external ID actually.
Excellent.
So
yeah.
This is very, very good. Yeah, super. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
of course.
Thank you for the question. And a very good topic. Hai was asking that when so if you want to open your microphone, you are welcome to do it. But I'm just reading what you type, right? So when I open a big model in viewer, browser use too much memory, and he shared the screen capture. So beside use multi-model loading, do you have any other way? Let me share here what he was pointing out, right? So that's the image he shared. Well, yeah, so if you have a very large model, the first thing to do is use SVF2. So that's the first thing. That should reduce the amount of memory, the amount of the number of triangles you have on your model, which reduces the how much memory your application is using. But no, there is so much we can do, right? It's still a big model. The next thing you can do is stop loading some of the features that you don't need. And I think I mentioned this blog a few times, but performance, and let me get that again here. There is a blog on how to improve viewer performance, and essentially the next thing you can do is stop loading things that you don't need. Let me just get the blog that I mentioned a few times. The best viewer, what is it? I think ever since the meltdown on Facebook yesterday, the whole internet's a bit slower.
Yeah, while you're looking for it, a comment, because I see it's a multi-modal loading. So imagine you have an SVF2, and this is, by the way, for Michael question. You have a model with SVF2. In SVF2 context, a lot of geometry, which resembles, basically instead of repeating the same geometry, they're instancing. So it means like if you have like 1,000 of cylinders, it will be one cylinder with 1,000 of references. But if you again load the very same scene, you have a multi-model context. So it's not one cylinder referring thousands, but it's two cylinders and each referring thousands. So it means that the multi-modal loading will help you as much as SVF will help you as much as possible. But when it's multi-modal loading, then willingly or not, they are not sharing the geometry. They have to kind of instance again and again. Yeah, so this is also.
Yeah. So the first thing is to use SVF2. If that's still not going well, you can reduce the amount of things you're loading on the memory. The second thing is to skip the property database, which can be considerable depending on your model. And then after that, you can start not loading the entire model. You just select pieces of the geometry that you want to load. That can be tricky if you don't have control. Then you can start disabling extensions that you don't need. That could save you some memory as well. But at this point, you're starting to lose features to reduce the amount of memory.
I seem to remember there's some issue with not loading the property database.
Yeah, when you don't,
you can't select anything.
You can select, yeah. Well, but no, that's the trade-off right at this point. But no, SVF2 is the first thing, and then you start removing features until you get the performance that you need. Yeah. Okay, you said that you're using SVF. Yeah, so move to SVF2, definitely. That's the first thing you have to do.
Yeah, but they are storing the models locally. That's my understanding.
Oh, so you cannot use SVF2. Okay. Yeah, that's tricky. Yeah, then you have to move to the next option here, or simplifying the model. We've seen a few cases where you have a model. Let's say I'm a very strange example, right? So let's say you have a house, and you have furniture models inside the house, and then let's say you have a vase that is very beautiful vase with lots and lots of triangles, right? You can start by removing those elements on your model that are very heavy and add a lot of complexity. Of course, a vase is very small, but let's say you have something that is very complicated inside your model with lots and lots of triangles. So you start by removing those elements from the model to simplify the model, if that's possible. Any other suggestions from?
Yeah, to not use multi-model. So if they're seriously, if they're using like they're using multi-model and they're using a bunch of Revit files and DWG files, etc. They're not going to be very optimized under SVF1, but under SVF2 they're optimized. So an alternative is to use Navisworks and essentially federate the models with the Navisworks file. So you take those 50 Revit files, AutoCAD files, pull them into a Navisworks scene, save that as an NWD file, and then process that into SVF1. And then you'll get the optimizations you see in SVF2, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, this could be considered also a cost optimization, because instead of like having 10 Revit files translated and multi-model loaded, you put in one Navisworks file and do just one translation.
Yeah, that's also true.
But you'll see a big difference in speed just by taking, it looks like it's Revit files. So taking those 3-4 Revit files, pulling them through Navisworks, and then uploading that NWD file, and you'll see a big difference in not just the size, but the load performance and rendering performance. And it will still work offline for you.
I guess we have a last minute, or maybe I just have a first question to Kevin. I just test this thinking, and because I'm loading multiple model at the same time, so I was testing them navviewer.getL model. So I'm using the first length in the array, which is just architect or construction model. It's false when SVF2. But when I choose the second model, which is in the same viewer, which is a complex model, it's a true. So it seems that it's by itself. It look at the model. If it need like SVF, it will bring it as SVF. If it need SVF2, it's bring it SVF2. So it seems it's.
Yeah, it's definitely mixed. I'm not sure it actually looks at the model itself, but it considers the performance, I think, of the channels. Yeah. So. And you can also still use isOTG, and there's a chance that they could still be both OTG and one say SVF and one say SVF2 just because of the channel.
Yeah, great.
A quick question, second, regarding the new APIs.
Very hard to understand you, sorry. Right now? No.
I think it's you had it correct, but it felt like it was too close.
It's good.
No. Try again.
Turn the volume on the microphone down. You'll need to go to the options.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
There we go.
that's better. Yes.
It's clipping.
Go ahead.
Try it again.
You have to unmute.
But you're muted. You're muted again.
yeah, okay. So regarding the APIs that were mentioned in the Forge roadmap, so one of them is progress updates. Do you have any details regarding that? They didn't mention anything.
Progress updates on which API?
Progress tracking.
You're talking about the model derivative probably to SVF2?
No, let me get it.
Okay.
So, so this is one of the APIs that will be targeted for this Q4. So it's progress tracking API. So I'm not sure what that is. So I wanted to ask about it.
Oh, is that possibly an ACC or BIM?
Where did you see that?
Oh, you mean,
Was it not talk?
ACC on Construction Cloud?
ACC API. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
From Cyril and Jim's roadmap,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I can share it on the screen if I can.
Yeah, sure. Just so we know which one you're talking about.
Okay. So share screen. Okay, this one.
Okay, ACC.
Yeah.
And,
so this one is progress tracking. So I'm happy issues is soon to be available for ACC. That's great. So, but what is the progress tracking? So we couldn't ask. So
I believe that's the one when you have a status on your yeah, when you are moving your files, so you have status in progress, done.
Oh, okay.
That's the status that you have on your models on docs, on Autodesk docs.
Also, do we have dates for these? Because they mentioned
Q4. Yeah, Q4. Yeah. So when we say Q4, it's usually the Autodesk Q4 calendar. And sorry about that, it's a bit confusing sometimes. So Q4 is November, December, January.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
somewhere around there.
Yeah, but
not a specific date. We don't give specific dates.
Yeah, okay. But we still on Q3, which ends now in October, right? So the Q4 it starts in November, and the best way to get information about new APIs, new betas, is to subscribe for the newsletter. So every time we have a new feature, new product, we always announce there. The newsletter goes with new features, that kind of thing, and you have to subscribe. But when we are changing something, then there is an operational email that goes to everyone. But for new features, you have to subscribe.
Yeah, and always feel free to pop back into a coffee break, maybe December, January, and we'll have a better idea for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing is that I was skimming through AU catalog right now, and I see a couple of classes might be related to this thing. So for instance, this one. So I put it in the chat link. Maybe kind of just join and look. Maybe this is exactly what's about, because usually like the roadmap is the very first presentation, and then there are kind of presentation of different like to be expected or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Mikako also has an ACC specific roadmap presentation, so you might want to check hers out.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that one was yesterday.
Yeah.
And let me get you the link.
Yeah, she may have some more details in there about that API.
Yeah, I think she talked about that. I don't remember. Yeah.
She mentioned that it might be with AU. So by the time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just sharing again, right? Remember that all of us are available on Calendly, especially this week. So Mikako is also there, so you can book a time and get some updates. So some personal information, direct information from her here, and everything that you're doing with ACC, Construction Cloud. Everyone on the team, and Mikako is also here.
Great. Cool.
Yeah, I'll say
Okay.
schedule something with her. That way you can talk to her.
Yeah.
She might have a better insight since she was like working with that team itself.
Perfect.
All right. So with that, which just a few minutes over the 30 minutes point, the next coffee break will be again in 2 weeks, same time, same link, October 20th. So for that specific coffee break, I'll be taking a few days off, and Jaime will be your host for that next edition. But yeah, see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining today, and hope you had a good time at AU. Don't take all the classes you want and talk to us. Spend some time with the team. That's one of the best weeks of the year. Thank you again for joining today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Everyone.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.